Alrighty, folks, so now we're going to talk about interpreting rates in context. We have to be able to calculate rates and compare which is bigger, which is smaller, but then we have to be able to understand what that means inside the context of what we're talking about. So a big part of that is being able to identify factors that can affect the rates, or what's causing certain rates to change or to be the way they are. We have to be able to compare the rates in context and justify what's different about them. Good questions. Here we go. This is Rajesh, a good friend in university named Rajesh. We call him Raj. Okay, so Rajesh bought a new car, and the manufacturer states that the fuel consumption 5.2 liters per 100 kilometers. Okay, so the claim from the manufacturer is that you're supposed to get 5.2 liters is all you burn every 100 kilometers. Okay, so during the first week, Rajesh and his new car drive from Deer Lake to Grand Falls, Windsor. Estimates that the fuel consumption was 6 liters per 100 kilometer. So what actually happened here? He didn't get 5.2 liters per 100 kilometer. He burned more gas than that. 6.0. All right, why is that the case? Discuss several factors that may have led to this discrepancy. Well, I don't know if you know much about fuel economy, but this is a big factor, speed. If Rajesh was going probably more than 85 or 90 kilometers an hour, he's not going to get optimal fuel consumption. And who drives 85 to 90 kilometers an hour on the Trans-Canada? Not many people. So there's one thing. Another factor that's important is it could be a new car. Well, we know it's a new car, and new cars take a while to break in before their engine will actually get optimal fuel consumption. Didn't know that until I had a car once that didn't get nearly the mileage it was supposed to. All right, so we've got that. It could also be if there's a lot of hills, if there's traffic, anything that causes you to slow down and speed up frequently, anything like that. Well, moose, whatever, that could affect your fuel consumption because the more you have to decelerate and accelerate, the more fuel you burn. So it's not just about being able to see that there's a difference between these two things. It's being able to sort of use some qualitative inference as to why they are different. Discuss the differences in prices for turkey in each location, providing possible reasons for the differences. Let's look at these. Calgary, we're looking at $4 for 500 kilograms for turkey. So what's that? Let's get them all per kilogram for unit rates. Let's get unit rates here per kilogram. So 500 grams is half of a kilogram, so I guess it's going to be $8 for a whole kilogram. Good people of Vancouver have already given us our nice unit rate. Thank you, Vancouver. Nice town when it's not raining 2 or 3 days a month. And Halifax, $7 per pound for a turkey in Halifax. So I think there's about 2.2 pounds in a kilogram if we're doing that rough conversion from weight to mass. So 2.2 pounds of that stuff would cost us $15.40. Oh, the expensive turkey for the Haligonians. And the Ganderites, what are they paying for turkey? $16 per kilogram. Already gone standard there. Okay. Seems to be that turkeys are way more expensive in the east than they are in the west. Why would they be more expensive in the east than they are in the west? I'm going to guess proximity. That means distance you are away to the farms where the turkeys are actually being produced, right? Shipping cost, basically, is what that is. And speaking of shipping cost, why would it be more expensive in Gander than it is in Halifax? Well, remember, in Newfoundland, you've got the ferry and all that stuff to pay for to ship it all the way over here. So that's going to make it even more expensive. Why is it $1 more in Vancouver than it is in Calgary? Well, that could be about proximity, but it could also be about how many places are there in Vancouver versus Calgary that are selling turkeys. So competition. If there's less competition in the marketplace, then folks are going to tend to want to jack the prices up because they know they can get away with it because, yeah, everybody needs turkeys, right? Yeah. All right. So lots of different factors that can affect unit prices. Lots of things that we've seen. Okay. The graph below can be used to compare the growth of several economies since the Great Depression. Ooh. Discuss possible reasons for the major differences in the curve. Okay. Let's see. The one that's going up the highest here is this kind of purplish color, and that's Japan. So since the Great Depression, we had all kinds of funny stuff going on right in this range, didn't we? Up until sort of the mid to late 1940s. So in that section, we're looking at what happened there if you know your history. That's the Great Depression, followed immediately by the Second World War. So in there, when you're talking about Depression times and you're talking about war times, everything is a little bit mucky, right? Okay, so you can see that there was a lot of strange stuff, ups and downs, and difficult times going on there. Okay, so that can possibly be one of the major things there. But everybody sort of had up and down weird cycles there. Let's look at what happened since the Second World War. So we've got the USSR, we've got the United States, and we've got Western Europe here, and we've got Germany. Why they separated Western Europe and Germany could be important, but I guess that's West Germany. But all of those things, yeah, it's pre-1990. So all of those things sort of followed a pretty standard rate of change. Now, the USSR's economy obviously did better. They had a higher percentage of their 1929 GDP, it says, sorry. But the one thing that's really alarming here is look at what happened with Japan. Japan's economy went kaboom. And there's lots of reasons for that. Two biggest ones is there was a lot of international aid to help out the Japanese after the Second World War. So you can see why they would have a steeper slope, and that would cause a higher rate of increase in their economic improvement. Okay? International aid after the bombings and stuff in the Second World War, the West sort of gave lots of money to Japan to help them rebuild, so they would grow a lot faster. It doesn't mean they're going to be bigger. Remember, this is just percentage change. And then what's another one that happened in Japan? They took over the electronics manufacturing, particularly in the 70s and 80s. In this range, they took over electronics manufacturing for a good part of the West, and that industry really boomed. So they went way up then. So it's important to be able to read and try and get some ideas. So it's easiest to compare unit rates like we did with our turkeys, and try to standardize the measures in terms of the units that we're looking at and all that. And there are any number of factors. Much of the justification is speculation, so we could be just guessing, but the idea is to compare the unit rates or slopes to make the comparisons fair and accurate.